The moment Jungkook collapsed into Jin's arms at Incheon airport was not just a scene. It was a seismic emotional rupture that stunned the global fanbase and left the terminal soaked in tears. But what truly happened behind that embrace? Why did the youngest member of BTS, known for his strength and composure, break down so publicly and so profoundly? Was it the weight of fame, a personal crisis, or something far more complex? And why did Jin, fresh off a high-profile appearance in Italy, instinctively wrap his arms around Jungkook in front of hundreds of cameras and thousands of fans? The questions are many, and the answers remain cloaked in silence. But one thing is certain: this was not a performance. It was a revelation. The incident occurred at approximately 1847 Korea Standard Time, just as Jin arrived at Incheon International Airport following his return from Milan, where he had attended the Gucci the Tiger showcase. The terminal was already buzzing with anticipation, with armies lining the arrival gates, holding banners and phones, hoping to catch a glimpse of their idols. But no one expected what unfolded next. As Jin stepped into the arrival hall, his eyes immediately locked onto Jungkook, who had been waiting in a secluded corner, flanked by security, but visibly shaken. Within seconds, Jungkook rushed forward, his composure unraveling, and collapsed into Jin's chest. The elder member did not hesitate. He embraced Jungkook tightly, shielding him from the flashes and the noise, as the youngest sobbed uncontrollably. The silence that followed was deafening. Fans stopped cheering. Reporters lowered their microphones. Even airport staff paused mid-task. The only sound that filled the space was Jungkook's muffled cries and Jin's quiet reassurances. It was a moment so raw, so unfiltered, that it transcended the usual spectacle of celebrity appearances. This was not a photo op. It was a human breakdown, witnessed by thousands and broadcast to millions. Speculation erupted instantly. Was Jungkook overwhelmed by the pressures of his career? Had something happened during Jin's trip that triggered this emotional collapse? Or was this a culmination of months of internal struggle that finally reached its breaking point? Observers noted that Jungkook had recently wiped his Instagram following list, a move that had already sparked concern among fans. Combined with his ongoing military service and the isolation that comes with it, many began to wonder if the emotional toll had become too great. Jin's presence at that moment was not coincidental. Though he had just returned from a high-profile fashion event, his demeanor was far from celebratory. Dressed in muted tones, his expression was solemn, almost anticipatory. It was as if he knew something was coming. And when Jungkook appeared, Jin reacted not with surprise, but with urgency. The embrace was immediate, firm, and protective. It was not the hug of a colleague. It was the grip of someone trying to hold another from falling apart. Media outlets scrambled to capture the scene, and within minutes, images and videos flooded social platforms. But unlike typical paparazzi shots, these visuals carried a weight that words struggled to convey. Jungkook's face, buried in Jin's shoulder, was contorted with emotion. Jin's eyes, scanning the crowd, were filled with concern. The atmosphere was not one of glamour, it was one of crisis. Armies around the world responded with a mixture of heartbreak and alarm. Messages of support poured in, but so did questions. What had happened to Jungkook? Why now? And why in such a public setting? Some speculated that the timing of Jin's return from Italy was significant. The Gucci event had been a major milestone, and Jin's appearance had drawn international attention. Could there have been news shared privately that affected Jungkook deeply? Or was Jin's return simply the emotional trigger Jungkook needed to release months of pent-up stress? Theories abounded. Some pointed to the recent shift in BTS's group dynamics, with members pursuing solo projects and navigating individual paths. Jungkook, often seen as the emotional anchor of the group, may have felt the strain of separation more acutely. Others suggested that the pressures of maintaining perfection in the public eye, combined with the solitude of military service, had created a psychological burden too heavy to bear alone. But beyond the speculation, the moment itself remained undeniable. It was a rupture in the polished image of global stardom. It was a glimpse into the vulnerability that fame often conceals. Jungkook, the golden magne, was not invincible. And Jin, the eldest, was not just a figurehead. He was a lifeline. The symbolism of the embrace did not go unnoticed. In Korean culture, physical affection between men, especially in public, carries layers of meaning. Jin's act was not just comforting, it was declarative. It said, "You are not alone." It said, "I see your pain." And it said, "I will carry you if you cannot walk." For fans, it was a message that transcended language. It was a reminder that behind the choreography and the accolades, BTS remains a family. As the crowd slowly dispersed and the airport resumed its rhythm, the images lingered. Jungkook's tears, Jin's arms, the silence, they became etched into the collective memory of ARMY. And while no official statements were released, the emotional impact was irreversible. Fans began organizing support campaigns, mental health awareness threads, and messages of solidarity. The incident had become more than a moment. It had become a movement. In the days that followed, Jungkook remained out of the public eye. His social media remained quiet, and no further appearances were scheduled. Jin, too, maintained a low profile, avoiding interviews and public engagements. The silence was both unsettling and respectful. It allowed space for healing, but also left room for concern. What remains now is a question. What truly happened at Incheon Airport? Was it a personal crisis, a professional breaking point, or a symbolic gesture of something deeper within the BTS narrative? And more importantly, what does it mean for the future of the group and for Jungkook himself? The answers may not come soon. They may not come at all. But the image of Jungkook in Jin's arms, crying without restraint, will remain. It will be studied, discussed, and remembered, not as a scandal, but as a testament to the humanity behind the fame. It will remind the world that even the brightest stars can falter, and that sometimes the most powerful message is not in a song or a speech, but in a silent embrace. And as ARMY continues to wait, to hope, and to support, one truth stands above all. Jungkook is loved. Deeply, fiercely, and unconditionally. And in that moment at Incheon, Jin made sure the world knew it. The emotional gravity of that moment continues to reverberate across the global BTS community. Even days after the incident, fans remain haunted by the image of Jungkook's trembling shoulders and Jin's unwavering embrace. It wasn't just a breakdown, it was a broadcast of vulnerability in its purest form. The fact that it happened at Incheon, a place synonymous with departures and arrivals, only deepened the symbolism. Was Jungkook metaphorically departing from a chapter of his life, or arriving at a painful realization?